I'm the Hardcore Gamer, and this is Spectacular Spider-Man. Spider-Man Far From Home is released this month, bringing us another slice of MCU Spider goodness. I love Tom Holland, and I love his portrayal of Spider-Man, and I'm really excited for the next instalment, which is why I've decided to dedicate the whole of July to what I'm calling Spectacular Spider-Month. Yeah, I'm driving myself fucking insane by doing a video every week for the whole of July. That's 4 videos of Spider goodness. Spectacular Spider-Month intro, please! Now, I bloody love Spider-Man. I have spoken about it before in my top 5 favourite Spider-Man games video from like ages ago, but he's my favourite superhero of all time. It all started when I was probably 2 or 3. I had a video that contained 1 episode of the Spider-Man series from the 70s and 2 episodes of the 60s Spider-Man show. You know the one. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. I absolutely loved that video, even fast forwarding through the Spider-Woman episode to get to the Spider-Man ones, because he was cooler. Eventually I got a video that had the 70s pilot for the live action TV series on it, and a weird rubber Spider-Man figure, and I was hooked from there. I got into proper American comics when I was probably 11 years old, and my first issue was this, Sensational Spider-Man number 2. Finally, I collected proper comics. I thought I was so cool. My classmates had other ideas though. Around this time, the 90s Spider-Man series started. You know the one. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. And that basically informed my love of the character. He's just the best. Don't at me. Now, Spidey has had a bit of a patchy history in video games. Some great, some not so great. And I have talked about some of my favourites in a previous video, as I mentioned at the start here. But I thought, for Spectacular Spider-Month, it might be good to get into some of the more obscure, kind of not as well known titles, so you can see what they're all about. Although spoilers, I will be ending this month with a look at the PS4 Spider-Man game because it's fucking great, so look forward to that at the end of the month. So let's get started. Okay, first up is the first Spider-Man game I ever played, and to this day, I've still not beaten it, because it's really hard. It's really hard. That game is Spider-Man for the Mega Drive, also known as Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin. Spider-Man was released in 1990 and was developed by Technopop exclusively for Sega's Mega Drive, or Genesis if you're weird. As part of an exclusivity deal Sega signed with Marvel Comics, which also brought us the amazing X-Men games on the console. It's a side-scrolling 2D actioner, with you traversing the various stages as the titular wall crawler in a bid to stop a bomb that will detonate in 24 hours and save your beloved Mary Jane from the clutches of the Kingpin. Kojima-level storytelling? This ain't. The narrative is played out through still image cutscenes and dialogue boxes, which do actually look pretty good for the era, but will only really give you the basic framing for what you're doing, but they're decent enough. This game definitely looks and feels like an early 90s Mega Drive title, with somewhat simplistic sprites, barely there animations,
which was the style at the time.
But dig a little deeper and there's a lot more under the hood, or as we call them in Hero Biz, a mask, than immediately obvious. Firstly, the controls are actually pretty decent. Spidey has a good jump arc and feels responsive to control. The web swing is particularly good, and he sticks to walls, ceilings, and in some places the background with ease. His combat controls can feel a little loosey, with them not always being obvious when you're actually hitting someone, especially bosses, but overall, it's manageable. Okay, so far so good. But what about that bomb we spoke of? Well, the entire game is timed, with the detonation timer at the bottom right of the screen. Take too long and boom! Your game is over, and you're dead. Well, fucking done. When you die, you lose time on your timer, making it more pressing to find Mary Jane and the Kingpin before you go kablooey. You do get unlimited continues however, but that also changes your time, adding to the sense of urgency. If you're running low on health, you can go back to Peter's apartment, where your health slowly comes back, but it comes at the cost of the timer speeding up while you're there, so it's not something you can spam to not die. Webbing is handled in an interesting way too. You get a small meter of webbing to begin with, but unlike other games, you can run out and webbing isn't dropped by enemies and pickups give you a minuscule amount back. Nope, to get more webbing, you've got to work for it. Literally. There's a camera option in the game, allowing you to snap photos during gameplay, which you can sell back to the Daily Bugle, and money raised is used to buy webbing. Genius! You only have a limited number of shots per level, and regular grunts pay crap, so saving pictures for bosses is your best option of making that paper rain. So levels. There are only 6 in the game, but they are varied and interesting enough to ensure you're not going to be looking at the same stuff over and over again. There are factories, sewers, parks, city streets, power stations and laboratories, each with unique visual and gameplay elements to keep you interested. This game is incredibly tough though, so you better get used to seeing the early levels again and again. I've actually only seen some of the levels in this game through the attraction footage, which is what I'm showing you here. The bosses add extra challenge, with characters like Dr. Octopus, the Lizard, Electro, Venom, and a giant gorilla? With the end boss being Kingpin. Well, I've never seen him, so I don't actually know. For my playthrough for this review, I literally could not beat the 4th level boss, Electro. The music ain't great here. It definitely screams early Mega Drive title, as if they didn't really know the capabilities of the sound chips yet, with the title music being the worst offender. The warehouse level music isn't too bad actually, with a kind of funky bass riff that rides through the track, but otherwise, this is one to mute and stick a CD onto. Ultimately, Spider-Man vs the Kingpin is a relatively decent Spidey experience, but looking at it without the benefit of nostalgia goggles, and the cracks start to show. If you're a hardcore Spidey fan, there's enough here to keep you entertained for a while, but for the Spidey casual, this just doesn't hold enough retro charm to give it a classic status, and the crushing challenge is likely to give you nightmares rather than nostalgic dreams. I do think it's worth playing though, just be prepared that a stone cold classic it ain't. I'm also really bad at it, hence why there are barely any levels shown in my capture footage. Sorry, not sorry. So that's Spider-Man. It's okay. I mean, it's a great throwback for me to my preteen years, but if you don't have that nostalgia, I don't know if there's enough there to grab you. Worth a shot though. So that's it, week 1 is done! Thank you very, very much for watching. As I said, this is Spectacular Spider-Man, so there'll be a video every week in July for different Spider-Man games. And there will be somewhat obscure, not that well talked about games, except from week 4, which as I said, is Spider-Man for the PS4. I've been the Hardcore Gamer. Join me next week for a much better video. But for now, go web, go! Hey guys, and thank you for watching this, the first episode of Spectacular Spider-Man. I really enjoyed making this whole series, so I really hope you like watching them. If you've enjoyed what you see here, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more from me and more from Spectacular Spider-Man, please hit that subscribe button. If you really like what I'm doing and want to support me monetarily, you can. Just go to coffee.com/xHARDCOREGAMErx. The link is in the description below. And let's have a good time. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.